I am a man who just has outgrown Nintendo. I don't want to be caught playing these childish, immature kid games. It's just embarrassing to just play all these games that are intended for children. I just don't feel comfortable doing that, so I don't play Nintendo games anymore. As soon as I stopped being a kid, I'm like, I need to stop acting like a kid too, and just not play Nintendo anymore. Ever since the Wii, I think the Wii was the last console I bought. It had nothing to do with the fact that the Wii U was complete trash and was a joke of a console. And it had nothing to do with the Switch being a joke of a handheld with like a 2 hour battery life and just big bulky thing that you can't really carry in your pocket. It had nothing to do with that. I just feel embarrassed playing Mario and Zelda and Pokemon and all this shit. Like, no, I'm a man. I'm a man. I need to play manly stuff like Call of Duty and um, anything with blood and violence and guns. Those are the only types of games I should be playing. I used to be a huge Nintendo fan, but I also used to be into a lot of things when I was a child. But once you mature and grow as a person, the things that you're interested in also grow and mature. Unless you're EDP, of course, then that's, it works a little bit different for that guy. But in all seriousness, I don't even remember where I got this hat from. I think it was like at Six Flags back in summer camp. I have felt that Nintendo has just... It's one of those things that I've outgrown, like cartoons. I don't watch cartoons anymore. I'm not interested in that. So I'm like, yeah, with Nintendo, they have all their games. Basically, they're all kid-friendly, family-friendly, whatever you want to say. And as an edgy 13-year-old, I was always like, oh yeah, no, the Nintendo just isn't for me anymore. And so I kind of just, I loved my Wii. When I was 10 years old, that's what I got for my 10th birthday, was a brand new Wii console back in 2008. And I remember loving it until I got my PS3, and I'm like, oh no, this is the cool system that all the kids play, and it's got like all this stuff that, the other part of it is I wasn't allowed to play any M-rated games as a child. The first time I was allowed to play an M-rated game was Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. I would try to sneak in Grand Theft Auto when my parents weren't looking. It was really my mom. My dad couldn't give less of a shit about what I was doing or what I was playing. But I was just like, yeah, this whole, like, kiddie game thing, like, no, I need guns, I need blood, I need all this shit in order to kind of feel like my video game hobby, it still is legitimate to people. Like, I remember that there was this one kid who everyone made fun of in 6th grade because all he played was Mario and other games on the Wii. Like, he was a Wii person. Didn't have a PS3, didn't have an Xbox 360, so he wasn't cool. So there was that culture in school and, with kids in my age that, yeah, like, if you played Nintendo and nothing else, then that was just weird. It was so weird. So I guess that kind of influenced my opinion on things, on, what kinds of games I should or should not be playing. I legitimately have lost interest in Nintendo, but that had more to do with, like I alluded earlier, the Wii U just not being that good of a system, and the whole tablet controller thing was just so bizarre, and I didn't really understand what they were going for, and it turned out to be a good decision not to buy a Wii U, and I became, more careful with buying new systems, because just a few months before the Wii U came out, the PS Vita came out, and that ended up collecting dust, and I hated that system so much. I know there are a lot of people that love it, but it's pretty much just a JRPG machine. That's all it's good for. And ports of PS3 games that look and run better on that console. So why would you get the PS Vita version? Like, I guess so you could play it on the go? I don't really care enough about that. And same thing with the Nintendo Switch. Like, the whole selling point, especially with, like, multi-platform games, like Doom and all these other ones. Like, oh yeah, like sure, it's the graphically inferior version with Witcher 3 and Hogwarts and, you know, name your game. But you can play it on the go, which you cannot do anywhere else. Now that we have the Steam Deck that not only is way more powerful than the Switch and has a lot more going for it than the Switch, in my opinion. I don't have a Steam Deck personally because I think the size is just another thing that I kind of hinted at. It's too big. You know, it's like my dick. It's just way too big. Like, you can't... It's not practical to just have this big, giant thing hanging around. Like, you know, you need to have something that's small, sleek, and can, you know, it's easy to travel with on the go. All my friends who I've seen that have, like, carried around a Switch with them, they had a backpack, and they've had this, and they had that. Like, that's just not something I'm willing to do. So, handheld gaming, I guess, is just not for me anymore, but it has nothing to do with age or maturity or anything like that. So it's an interesting thing. It really is. Like, of, you know, because Nintendo, I wouldn't say Nintendo was ever like my favorite thing. Even as a kid, I was always a PlayStation guy. The PS2 was my first console, though the DS, that was also my shit back in the day, and the Game Boy Advance. 3DS also, yeah, the same thing. Like, I had a 3DS, but I never really did anything with it. I could tell you the games that I had on it, like, in one hand. I had Mario Kart 7, which, GOAT tier game, Street Fighter 4 3D, Star Fox 64 3D, Sonic Generations, and, oh, Super Mario 3D Land. I think that's it. I just wasn't interested in the 3DS anymore. I think a lot of it, though, had to do with the whole community aspect of gaming. If you ask me what my fondest memories are with the DS, it would be playing Nintendo Wi-Fi, Mario Kart DS, or just whatever, with like a whole bunch of other kids my age, and we got the system link or whatever it was going on. I remember, like, in the auditorium during lunch, because basically, like, the way lunch was in elementary school, it was like half the time you were sitting in the cafeteria, and then the other half you were outside, but when it was cold or rainy or whatever, they had you just sit in the auditorium for the rest. I don't know why they didn't just have you in the cafeteria the whole time. I think because other kids had to come in the way they structured the breaks and the lunch and recess. But there would be, like, literally a whole bunch of us sitting in the auditorium, and I would have Mario Kart DS, and there were other kids that didn't have it, but, you know, even if you didn't have the game, you can link up with other DSs and still play the game. We had a full fucking race. I think it was like 12 people, right? That's how many people you can have racing in Mario Kart. And I kicked all their asses all the time, and they were looking up at me because I was sitting up, like, higher in the auditorium, and they were sitting lower. And they were just looking at me with envy, like, you bastard, you keep winning, and I'm... yeah, so, like, those are my... And also, of course, Pokemon Wi-Fi battle with friends, and, PictoChat, remember PictoChat? So, like, it's all my favorite memories with the handhelds, with the DS specifically, is experiencing it with other people. But when I got a 3DS, I didn't know anyone else who had one, so I just kind of, like, felt alienated. Like, I would play Mario Kart 7 online, which was fun, and that would be, like, literally 95% of my entire time on the 3DS was just playing Mario Kart 7 in the living room or wherever, just for a quick game. And I also played through Super Mario 3D Land, which was a really fun and good game. The whole 3D thing, though, it didn't really matter to me. But it was back at a time when, remember, they thought 3D was the next big thing. Sony went all in on 3D TVs, and yeah, that didn't last very long. I think within a year or two, they already gave up on it. So I think it's just because of... It's not because I had my own opinion that I was too old and too mature for Nintendo. It was just kind of something that was... that I was conditioned to believe from outside influence. And, you know, all my friends were playing on PS3 and 360. They weren't playing on the Wii. They used to, though. I actually had a couple of friends that I would talk to from my mom's landline phone, and I would call them, so because you didn't have voice chat in Mario Kart Wii, and we would actually play games after school that way. Like, we would be on the phone with each other. I think I would put the phone on speaker, because just holding it like this the whole time didn't make any sense. But that's how I played. And I loved it until other people didn't. That's pretty much what happened. So, yeah, that's my experience pretty much with falling out of Nintendo. Now it has more to do with financial reasons and just me not being comfortable with the stuff they're doing. Like, oh, for example, the new Zelda game that came out last year, $70. Why is it $70 though? It's $70 because Sony and Microsoft charge $70 for their games, but Sony and Microsoft's reason for charging $70 was because it's a new console generation, so we have to charge more because games are more expensive now. Nintendo obviously didn't have that problem because the Switch is still the same Switch as it was in 2017. But they're like, well, since everyone else is charging $70 and people are willing to pay $70, then we're going to charge $70 also. And that's what happened there. So that's one thing that pisses me off. I don't want to pay $70 for games. I don't think it's... You're not giving me $10 more in value, so why am I going to give you $10 more? And Nintendo games are notoriously more expensive on average than games on other platforms. The games are rarely on sale. Even a used game for fucking Mario Odyssey is like pretty expensive. And of course on the eShop the price never comes down. So money is one thing. The paid online is it's a complete ripoff. Like, it's just a way to get money out of you with no actual benefit to the consumer. I mean, to be fair, it's the same thing with PlayStation and Xbox, but this is just blatantly, like, at least those consoles, and I'm not defending Sony and Microsoft because I'm a PC guy, so I don't pay for Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus. But at least they have a somewhat built-up online infrastructure. Nintendo, you can't even do voice chat on the goddamn Switch. You can't do party chat on the Switch. You have to download an app on the phone in order to be able to, like, play a Splatoon or whatever on a party chat. Like, at that point, why don't I just go on Discord? Or at that point, why don't I just spend my money upgrading my PC instead of buying this fucking piece of shit? $20 a year. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's just the principle of it. It's like, and also the fucking game preservation is also really bad. They take down all these emulators and they take down all these fan projects, but when it comes to actually getting the game legitimately, Nintendo doesn't provide any way for you to do that. Aside from paying for their shitty paid online subscription. You get like NES games or whatever. Like, how is this worse than it was on the Wii? I feel like the Wii Online wasn't any better, or wasn't any worse, rather, than what we have on the Switch. And the Wii U Nintendo Network actually was better. The previous generation was better. So that's just ass backwards to me. I don't like that shit at all. Yeah, so maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm nitpicky. But those are like the main reasons why I personally don't feel like I can support Nintendo anymore. But, you know, for those who do, power to you. If you love Nintendo, no matter what problems that they have, then I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself. But I don't know if I'll ever support Nintendo again. I don't know what it would take with the Switch 2. It can't just be the Nintendo Switch, but more powerful. It'd have to really have some games that are compelling enough for me to be like, yes, I am buying this thing. Because, I mean, the Switch had some games that I was interested in. I'm not really a Zelda player, so that wasn't interesting to me. Pokemon I was a fan of, but the whole National Dex thing, I'm like, nope, not supporting you motherfuckers. Giving less content in a game, no. And paying more for it. I'm good. So, Mario Kart really was the only thing, and Mario Odyssey were the only games that really interested me. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And all the multi-platform games I could play have a much better experience on PC or even PlayStation 4. Never mind PlayStation 5. That's why, yeah, I never really got a Switch. So with the Switch 2, they would have to just really have these games that really stand out to me, and they don't have to have blood or violence or anything like that. But to me, I don't find Nintendo in the modern age very compelling. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, of course, because the Switch is currently the second best-selling game system of all time, and it has a shot actually of overtaking the PS2, which would be insane if they actually are able to pull that off. But yeah, they used to be huge with Nintendo, not so much anymore.